Good afternoon, everyone. Dignitaries on the screen. Guest speakers for the event, Sri SBS Reddy ji, Additional DGFT, New Delhi, Sri Deepak Bagla ji, Managing Director and CEO, Invest India, Madam Chandrima Sinha, Vice President, Invest India, Honorable President ICAI, CNAR Jambucharia ji, Honorable Vice President ICAI, CA Dr. Debashish Mitra ji, Vice Chairman of my committee, Sri Ansar Chuk ji, Coordinator for the event, Sri Rahul Jain, Chairman Sikasa Ajmer Branch, myself, CA Tarunjay Ghia, Chairman of the Committee for Development of International Trade and Services and WTO, have great pleasure in welcoming all of you for this very, very important webcast on the important subject of role of chartered accountants in the new foreign trade policy arena. Friends, let me at the outset start by saying that it is due to very progressive and brilliant foreign trade policy that the country has been able to frame that in this post-pandemic era, our country is sitting on huge amount of foreign exchange reserves, which is certainly a good credit to the framers of the policy and in the midst of the pandemic. The country is so much resourceful in terms of unprecedented foreign exchange reserves that now it is getting ranked world over in terms of the quantum of foreign exchange reserves. In terms of exports, India is the leading country now in more particularly the IT and pharma sector. And in many other sectors also like automobiles, jewelry also, we have become leading exporters despite the challenges being thrown by the pandemic. In the context of Government of India and services, the Government of India has identified and named 12 champion sectors, and accounting and finances is one of such sectors. So while Indian Chartered Accountant has always been expanding in its horizons and in its spread, but the Chartered Accountants need regulatory and policy framework guidance. At the Institute, we'll be keen to hear the additional DGFT and Baglaji how the Institute can play a more meaningful role in the context of foreign exchange policy and the changes therein which are recent. And with this background, I think our participants are quite eager to hear the dignitaries and then go to the technical session. So with this background, may I request Honorable Vice President ICAI, Debashish Mitra, to kindly address the meeting.
Thank you, Tarun Ghiaji. The President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Neha Jambusaria, the Chairman of this Committee for Development of International Trade Services and WTO, Tarun Ghiaji, the Vice Chairman, Hansraj Chuksa, Mr. SBS Reddy, the Additional DGFT New Delhi, Deepak Baglaji, MD and CEO, Invest India, Chandrima Sinha, Vice President, Invest India. A very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Let me tell you, when we're talking about foreign trade and role of CAs in the new foreign trade policy era, we have 42 overseas chapters and 28 representative offices at the present moment. We are present in 45 countries of the world, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And whenever we are talking to these chapters which are located all over the world, usually the Indian ambassadors to those places are usually present. And we always say that, the foreign trade between India and those countries in which the chapters are located, we should do everything possible to accelerate, to encourage that. We do that, and we always encourage in front of the ambassadors, of the very Indian ambassadors in those countries. I am very happy that, this topic has been chosen, because in recent times, let me tell you, the Institute has felt it necessary that we must have footprints a bit away from our usual very important areas like audit and accounts. that we must have footprints in areas like foreign trade, and the members must, the chartered accountants and the members of the institute must know the rudiments, if not expert knowledge of this subject, so that not only they can contribute to their own well-being or own professional well-being, but they can also contribute to being a partner in nation building. I'm aware that there is a lot of expectation from the new foreign trade policy. And like many of the stakeholders, the institute is also, trying to understand and trying to see how we can contribute, to the success of this foreign trade policy. We are also aware that the government has already announced the remission of duties or taxes on export product scheme effective from January 1, 2021. And I'm sure, that will be a great success. And this committee, I congratulate this committee for Development of International Trade, Services and WTO. This committee has been organizing webinars regularly. It has been publishing newsletters and foreign language courses. For example, we have our chapters in France, for example. The demand for foreign language courses was so much. In Germany, there was a demand for foreign language courses. So this committee does a very, very important work, important area it covers, that is having the foreign language courses. And it is our great pleasure to be amidst all of you. And the chartered accountants, let me tell you, they have this great ability to upgrade themselves. They have this great ability to adapt. They have the great ability to sense an opportunity which presents before it. So, I'm sure the chartered accountants would find that foreign trade policy and a role, there would be of great professional benefit to them. And to those of us who are listening to me, I wish you an extremely happy learning. And let me tell you that it is very important that we understand the rudiments of this foreign trade policy, so that we can certainly use it in our professional lives. With these words, I congratulate the committee once again for having organized this program, and I wish all those delegates who are attending this program the very best in their future endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice President Devashish ji. Friends, our secretary, Sri Anita Suneja, is coordinating with the DGFT, so he can join at any moment. In fact, on the last moment, he had some ministerial commitments, and therefore he has requested additional DGFT, SBS Reddy ji, to address us in the meantime. I will request now Sri Nehar Jambusaria ji, our president, to kindly address.
Thank you, Tarun ji. Good afternoon, everybody. Vice President of the Institute, CA Dr. Debashish Mitra ji, the Chairman of the Committee for Development of International Trade, Services and WTO, CA Tarun ji, Vice Chairman, CA Hansraj Chugh ji, today's guest, Additional DGFT, Sri SBS Reddy ji, and speakers, Sri Deepak Bagla ji, MD and CEO of Invest India, Chandrima ji, Vice President, CA Invest India, Rahul Jain, and all the participants. Let me at the outset congratulate the committee for organizing this talk on what are the nuances of new foreign trade policy and how it is made so favorable for the exporters, particularly with chartered accountants spreading wings in areas beyond audit and tax. I think export is one of the main areas where the chartered accountants should focus. And I can give example of the vice chairman himself, that is Hansraj Chugh ji, whose main area of practice is export and foreign trade policy. Last year, the government classified accounting and finance as one of the 17 champion sectors for promotion of export, and requested Institute that you take up this mammoth task and see that accounting and finance services are exported across the world, and our revenue from this export increases substantially. The Institute took up the challenge, and last year we approached the Ministry of External Affairs, and there the Foreign Secretary agreed to give status equivalent to other institutions like CII and SOCHM to our overseas chapters. So now the overseas chapters will have free access to the Indian embassies in all these countries. And we at the institute here are engaged with our foreign chapters with virtual mode of communicating. And I'm sure that with their collaboration, we'll be able to achieve the target of promoting accounting and finance services across the world. Last year, we entered into MoUs with Service Export Promotion Council and Export Promotion Council for EOUs and SEZs. I think the committee may take full advantage of these MoUs, and jointly with them, let us explore what we can do for the promotion of export of CA services. And in the new foreign trade policy, what is laid down and what is relevant for chartered accountants, I think today it will be deliberated in detail, because the subject itself is opportunities for chartered accountants in the foreign trade policy. So with this, once again, my compliments to the committee, and I am sure that the participants will have a lot of value add, and those who are not in this field will be encouraged to commence practice in export of services outside India. Not only export of services, but overall even export for the purpose of advisory to the clients too. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you. Tarunji, back to you.
Thank you, Niyar President. And your words of wisdom will be implemented by the committee. We will be taking full advantage of the MOU by the ICAI. Now, the additional DGFT is likely to join at 4:25. He is already there on the screen. In the meantime, I would be requesting Sri Deepak Baglaji, the Managing Director and the CEO of Invest India. In fact, Deepak Baglaji has a very illustrious professional career, running over 3 decades with the World Bank, Citibank, private equity, having responsibilities across Europe, Africa, and Asia. Currently is the MD and CEO of the Invest India. And Invest India plays a very, very important role in today's foreign trade policy, friends, because it is a national investment promotion and facilitation agency promoted by the government of India for execution of the agency, including for startups and the Prime Minister's coveted science and technology initiatives. So may I request Deepakji to kindly address, please?
Thank you, Tarunji. Thank you for getting us all together. Dr. Mitra, Mr. Jambusaria, Mr. Rahul Jain. I mean, we're really lucky we have Mr. Reddy with us today. He's the absolute specialist on trade. I'm sure he's going to be sharing the details with all of you. Before I start, and I have my colleague Chandrima Sinha. So first, I do want to thank the committee, and I do want to thank the Institute for getting us all together. I think it was a few months ago where you'd given us a chance where we had a conversation on investments. But before I start today, I do want to mention to you that just a few hours ago, earlier this morning, the chairman of Invest India and the secretary of the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Dr. Guru Prasad Mahapatra, passed away. And I must tell you that till the last day before he was taken to the hospital, he was taking phone calls, he was taking entire reviews on what can be done to bring solutions to the pandemic, especially in the oxygen side of which he was heading that committee. So would you all please join me for a moment in prayer for peace and for his soul. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. You know, it's been a brutal time and it's been completely unprecedented. If you recollect, the first wave challenged us on our livelihoods. The second one actually challenged us on our life itself. And it is with people like Dr. Mahapatra, like all of you, and the government and the policymakers and their dedication, and to the frontline COVID warriors, that this is where we've been able to gather. And we are still in the process of it, trying to fight this pandemic. It has been very brutal, as I said. But let me move on and mention to you a few things which happened even when we were in this lockdown. And let me say, the most unprecedented experience ever which any of us have experienced in our life. But even during this lockdown, and if I may just talk specifically about investments, because Invest India has focused more on investments, the highest ever FDI in our history we received in 2020-21. You all know we received a record-breaking FDI of $81.7 billion. And what was very important of this $81.7 billion is that if you look at it during this past 1 year, global FDI fell by over 40%. But India's FDI increased by over 10%. In fact, we were only one of the two countries in the world where our FDI did increase. And this is a very, very relevant factor because nobody knows this better than all of you. You are our champions, you are our ambassadors, you are the stakeholders which are responsible to bring this investment, and you are the stakeholders responsible to make this investment viable and profitable. And the most important thing about investment, as you know better than anyone else, is all about trust. And it is about that trust in the present and the trust that this is a place where their investment will grow because the future is bright. And I think that is what has happened in the past 1 year and in the past, what I would say, the past 7 to 8 years, where I'm seeing this trust develop immensely globally on India's efforts to create an ease of doing business. Very quickly, I'll just walk down a few points which have happened during the past 6 months. Special teams have been created in every department of the Government of India. They are called a Project Development Cell. They are manned by Invest India team. And each of these teams is responsible for facilitation of investors, for helping in policy formulation, for helping in the best ecosystem creation, and for helping in creating new projects which are ready on the shelf to create more investment. The second thing which has happened, and we have just launched this about 4 weeks ago, there's a soft launch. And I would urge all of you, if you get a chance, to please go on it and send us your feedback, because this is a time when we are looking for everyone's feedback. And my colleague Chandrima Sinha would also be speaking about it a little, is the single window. What we've done is created one portal. Any investor from anywhere in the world can come on to that portal and seek all clearances which are required by the central government and the state government by creating one common application form. It is AI powered one, so it'll keep asking you a few questions on your projects, and it will automatically come up with an application form which will showcase all the permissions and approvals you require, and you can fill that out, and it will automatically then go to all the departments and make that happen. We've done the soft launch. We would request wherever you get a chance to please have a look at it. You're the best people. We can get some more feedback and then see how we can improve on the system. The third thing, which is very interesting, which we've also started, and Chandrima will again share that with you, is the industrial land bank system. You know, every time we used to meet, and I think a lot of your members used to meet us, the biggest challenge apparently for investors globally used to be to find a suitable landed location for themselves. Well, now on this portal, you can go onto it and you can actually see land which is readily available currently. And you can go down to the plot and see what is the definition of the plot and what are the other attributes around that plot. Again, we've just launched this about 3 months ago. We have mapped over 2 lakh hectares already. A number of state governments are coming on it. And by the day, we are getting more and more land parcels which are coming on it. The last, as I was also wanted to tell you, is the National Infrastructure Pipeline. And that is housed on Invest India's India Investment Grid. The India Investment Grid has over 10,000 projects where the promoters may be looking either for debt or equity or a partner. This is actually, if you might want to look at it, as a menu of options where anybody can look at India for the actual projects where they can invest in. And I must tell you, today we have visitors from over 100 countries on this portal. It's a very vibrant portal. We have over 10,000 investors which are already registered on it. They're looking at it every day. And I would request all of you again to come and see what are the applicable opportunities. And the National Infrastructure Pipeline is also on it. And these are growing by the day. These opportunities are increasing by the day. Why am I saying all this? One, realize all these moves are happening only towards the ease of doing business. This was the Prime Minister's stated objective, that he wants to make India as one of the most competitive places. And the ease of doing business is really creating that trust and faith across the globe in investors to look at it. And we need you. Each one of you are the ambassadors who are going to help create this story outside and take it forth to the investors and show them what is happening in the new India, which we are working in, and show them these opportunities where they can come, and please bring them to us. If you have queries, reach out to us. You will have a team working with you. This is your team to ensure that these investments will be handheld completely. By the way, in the Invest India team has a dedicated relationship manager for each investment which is coming in. They do everything from showing them the opportunity, the policy, getting them approvals, getting them land, and even after the business is set up, to handhold that business and to try and see how we make it as profitable as we can. And in addition to all this, as you all know, in 13 odd products and sectors, we've come up with a production-linked incentive scheme. The kind of response, we've been doing webinars, and we've done over 30 of them already, and a number of investor meetings in the past 3-4 months. And the response has been, if I may say, exceptional. So one of the first PLI policies which went out was on electronics. Today, I have each and every global major in that industry who had put in their application, where the team helped them put in that application, and are looking to either expand or start their investments in India. Same is true of pharmaceuticals, same is true of the other sectors which are coming in. Again, we seek each one of you to join us in that and have a look at it more. And Tarunji, if I may just take 2 more minutes on this. And I'm sure Mr. Reddy will also allude to it a little. There are two special projects which I need your help on. One is, which Mr. Reddy will tell you more about, is one district, one product, which the Prime Minister's vision, he said from every district of India, there should be at least one product which is exported globally. Now we are identifying those products, we are working on it. Mr. Reddy's team is leading that effort. We want you to join hands with us. And this is a very interesting initiative. The second is wellness is now going to be one of the centermost points going forward in the world. And no one better than India, which is positioned to provide the solutions and ideas of that wellness. Our Ayurveda, our Ayush, every part of that. And that is another thing which we are looking to do. And we would want you to come and partner with us. Thank you again for joining us today. I really want to thank the committee and all of you who are with us. And I really look forward to working with you together to take this forward. There's much to be done. And together, we will be able to make it happen. Thank you again. Thank you, Tarunji. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Bagla. This is C.A. Hansraj Chug. Such a nice and wonderful interaction, and within a short time, you have given such a beautiful the vision for the profession also. Like we all understand, this profession of the chartered accountants is directly connected with the economy of the country. Lot of the contribution in the as a partner in the nation building and the growth which has been started way back in the year 1992 and continue to grow with, whether it is the export, whether it is the investment coming from the overseas foreign direct investment, which gives the really picture to the economy to grow with. So your understanding about this contribution, and we have a MoU also with you as a Invest India, and for the growth, whether it is the growing in the economy as a long journey of any one thing which you feel like this is directly been India is the and sir, over to you. Bagla साहब,
जी, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही थी.
अच्छा, you did not get my question.
नहीं, आपकी आवाज नहीं आई थी. Sorry.
Now you are getting it, or
हाँ जी, अब आपकी आवाज आ रही है. बताइए.
yeah, my point is that we have both the institution, we as a large institution serving to the corporate or serving to the global world, and you being a part and parcel of the for the growth, the Invest India. So both have the similar kind of objective. We as a serving to the corporates, directly connecting to the corporates to the economy of the country. You in the same manner with a mandate to bring the money into the country for the foreign investment to be coming. So having been understood, that is why we came together by way of the MoU also. Now find out some best or the model which model you suggest with for the growth of the $5 trillion economy. That is for sure, without FDI, this cannot be achieved. For sure, because of the India has a little its own weaknesses also, whether it is the infrastructure inefficiencies or the other efficiencies. Which model do you suggest? The money flow in, but the growth to the export, with that money flowing in, how they can be connected with? Do you have something in your mind to bring out to our chartered accountants community?
Hansrajji, we've been working very closely with the chartered accountant community. एक तो हमारा MOU भी है. And we've been working very closely with them because you are the people who are the trusted advisors to the investors. They look to you to give them the nuances, the details, the particulars about how to land their investments. So that is happening very, very closely, and I think we will start having more and more interaction where we can share information on what is happening. So there's no information asymmetry, which is very critical. और उसके अलावा भी whenever there is policy formulation and we are creating any draft papers, we have been reaching out very actively to your entire team of associations and getting their feedback and taking that back into policy making. So that has been very useful feedback which we've been getting from you. And you have seen that a large number of either new policy initiatives or revisions in current policy initiatives, you are seeing your footprint on those in many of them. So I think this is continuing. We need to do more and more of this. It'll be nice if you reach out to your partners and others who are looking at investments and see how you can help them and how we can help you to bring those investments and to facilitate their grounding and actual actioning of those investments. So that is what we will, and we will continue working together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for such a wonderful. I can feel from my heart such a wonderful words coming from the personality like you, and giving a little bit or best to our profession also, and a better understanding for the profession also. And I personally hope so. Invest India and the ICAI will come together in a more strong manner for the growth of the country, whether it is the export or whether it is the money flowing to the country for the growth of the overall ecosystem of our country. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. And on behalf of my committee for member in industry and business, committee for this export of CA services are lately been transformed to the international development of international trade services and WTO. And our chairman Tarun Giaji, and on my own behalf also, and on behalf of the ICAI as a whole, I am very grateful and thankful to you for your nice words for the profession. Thank you very much. Thank you. Friends, now we'll be moving towards our another speaker is just on the way, maybe joining in another 2, 3, 4 minutes. Let us understand the journey as a two parts. Today we are speaking on the foreign trade matters. The another part which goes with is the FDI. The Invest India mainly focus on the FDI matters, which comes and which really for the development of the trade, international trade is instrumental, and which is a catalyst for the growth of the country. And the another part is the growth overseas, looking beyond the boundaries. And today both the best of the speakers, like our Deepak Baglaji has shared with us so many good things for the promotion of Indian trade or the international trade also. Same way, Mr. Reddy, who is joining us in another 2, 3 minutes, will be sharing us on the foreign trade matters. And in the meantime, because we have another 2, 3 minutes, so let me also have a little feeling about the foreign trade policy. The policy which earlier used to be different before the era which we talk about the command economy or the controlled economy, and the changing thereafter, we can feel the difference. We can feel how strongly our country has grown with. Country has put their footprints across the globe. whether it is the developed nation, whether it is the developing countries or the landlocked countries or the underdeveloped countries. So those are basically the leadership qualities. India wants to lead it. Till 92, it was a little hesitant in doing so. But once the vision is being opened up and that thought process has been started with, so no stop in between, barring these which are by way of the natural process or by way of the unexpected things which comes on the process in the system, like pandemic has come in, but that also has not stopped us to moving beyond. So that is the basically great time to with each one of us. That is the point we have to understand with, and we must find our place. Yes, as far as the accounting and the financial services are concerned, these also have a big area to make it, and we all have to understand with. We all have to understand with. This will boost up. This will make us more stronger if we go get something.
Thank you very much, Hansraj Chugh, sir, the Vice Chairman of this committee. Now we continue with the. Sir, I think so. You have the network issue.
Hello.
Sir, now it's clear, sir. Now it's clear, sir.
Yeah, basically to understand with as a services of a chartered accountancy or the growth of the Indian economy also, both are combined together, because service sector over a period of time has shown its importance across the globe, more particularly the accounting services also. Accounting services we see like the overseas big corporates, they are targeting the India and for their captive purpose only, for their own purpose only, they are putting up all the BPOs or the CPOs or all those accounting process outsourcing in India itself. Because of the reason they understand India is full of the skill and best of the knowledge of the technology also. Same way, there are those kind of the smaller segments or the small companies, they source out to the Indian Chartered Accountants community or other APOs, those who are as an entrepreneur, those are serving to the numbers. Those are the areas where we can find our place as a professional chartered accountant also. The another things as our president also in his initial remarks and the vice president also, like we being a professionals, not limiting ourselves to the accounts and audit, we have to find out the place in the other advisory services also. These trade related matters, more particularly the foreign trade related matters, whether it is the free trade agreements or duty related issues, anti-dumping, safeguard, or so many issues. Import side, if we talk about the project imports for the growth of the countries, there are so many provisions where we can find our place as a consultant or advisor to the corporates or to our clients, where we can pitch to, whether it is the incentive side or the procedure sides or the aspects which are been so far been taken care of by the other professional also, we can also move into the by way of the better understanding of these subjects. So these are the basic ideas for this new foreign trade policy expected to be sometime in the September end. That will also giving us more and more strength, because government has felt with who is the best profession around us. The chartered accountants is the only profession which are been in the ecosystem of the country that we all have to understand with. We all have to feel with. This is the profession by way of having been understood all the parameters, whether it is the taxation side, whether it is the accounting side, whether it is the direct tax or the indirect tax, or understanding so many business economics. So this is a segments where we can be most beneficial and we can really be in put our footprints, or rather we can be a great contributor in developing the nation and bringing out the $5 trillion economy, which has been targeted for 2026 now. Earlier the target was 2024. Though I will not say कि will deliver it. Yes, by 2026, we in any case very great expectation कि will be there at a $5 trillion economy and going forward in a better manner, because India has the world has looked at the so many strength of the country, whether it is on the service sector, whether it is the manufacturing sector, because nowadays PLI is the talk of the town, production link incentive schemes, production link incentive schemes. Then earlier it used to be the manufacturing base to be developed, make in India concept. All the time, whenever the things are being felt with, India keep on changing also. The change which is being brought, look at, is the way we have to make it happen. So with those kind of words, we keep on developing the newer things, and I'm quite hopeful under the able leadership of our national leaders and our different institutions which works for the growth of the economy, they'll be doing so. Anita ji?
Thank you very much, Vice Chairman, sir.
Mr. Reddy has joined, or he?
Sir, Mr. Reddy is likely to join within next 2 or 3 minutes. He was stuck in the traffic jam. He is very sorry for that. But thank you very much, sir, for giving such an elaborate explanation on the foreign trade and how the chartered accountants can actually grow and prosper for this under the new trade era, sir. Thanks for your kind words of knowledge and wisdom for our member community. Now I will, sir, introduce with Mr. Rahul Jain, who is the moderator of this session, and he will take this session further, sir. Mr. Rahul Jain is the chartered accountant. He is the chairman of Sikasa Ajmer branch, and he is in practice since last 10 years, and he has been associated with ICAI activities from 2019. And he is serving as a Sikasa chairman right now from 2021, and he has significant positions also. Now I request Mr. Rahul Jain, C. Rahul Jain ji, to further take the proceedings of this webcast. Over to Rahul Jain, sir.
Thank you, Anita ji, for introducing me. And I like to tell about the foreign trade policy which brought by DGFT. It is that policy is basically to explore our export goods and reduce the import quality imports, so that they can make India make issues regarding produce the capital goods, so that we can import the capital goods from outside India in low quantity, and we can increase our local market. And it can also reduce the export obligation from 90% to 75% for the capital good we source from the local manufacturer under the export promotion capital good schemes. And it also this policy also help in increasing the export by giving the two schemes like MEIS and service export from India scheme. In this kind of schemes, exporters of goods will get the additional benefit after realizing of currency from the outside of India. And in the service export from India scheme, in which the service provided by the chartered accountant or any person, they will get the benefit after realizing of the foreign currency to India. It also help in boosting the economy of India to 5 trillion economy. If these schemes we will use and utilize it properly. In the foreign trade policy, they make the policy in making the each district a specific export goods or quality, so that we can make the export hubs and we can export it out of India at very good manner. It offered the export incentive under the two schemes in the form of duty credit schemes, which can be used by exporters to pay the import duties the scripts are fully transferable. Scripts are fully transferable, which means that if the exporters has no need for them, and they can pass it to another. There is another scheme in this is that it allows the manufacturer who are the status holder to self-satisfy their manufactured goods as originating from India. This helps them to qualify for preferential treatment under various bilateral and regional trade agreements, and it identified 108 micro, small and medium enterprise cluster for focused intervention with a view to boost exports.
Mr. Rahul Jain, can we start with the session with Mr. Reddy, sir? Mr. Rahul Jain, you are on mute, please. You are on mute. Please unmute yourself.
Now I am listening.
Yes, yes, now it's clear. Thank you very much. Now we can start with the session. Mr. SBS Reddy has joined, sir.
Sir, it is a pleasure opportunity for me to introduce SBS Reddy, sir. And he born in 1964 and his education qualification is MSc Physics. He presently working as an additional director of Journal of Foreign Trade in DGFT Udyog Bhavan in New Delhi. He has vast experience, which has started from, he has joined government of India as a civil service in 1990, belongs to Indian Trade Service, mostly work in the office of the Director General of Foreign Trade, Department of Commerce, Government of India for implementation of foreign trade policy, work in Mumbai in Custom House for 2 years, work in multilateral economic relations division of Ministry of External Affairs from 2006 to 2009, negotiated the various free trade agreement including the Asian India FTA, working in foreign trade policy formulation for 5 years 2003 to 2006 and since 2016. In so far as WTO is concerned, did the 16-month WTO regional trade policy course in Hong Kong and also 2-week attachment with World Trade Institute. Now, sir, it is a great pleasure to introduce Sir SBS Reddy, sir. Now is SBS Reddy, sir, to start the session.
It's a great pleasure to be here today with ICAI. Thank you, Mr. Tarun Jia, Madam Anita Suneja, Mr. Rahul Jain, Mr. Abhinav Chandra, Chandrima Sinha, Monica Jain, and others. So basically, for the last 30 years, I am in foreign trade field. So chartered accountants has always been an inseparable part of foreign trade policy from the beginning. But of late, you can see that the role of chartered accountants has increased exponentially. In all parts of foreign trade policy, we have role of chartered accountant. To understand what is the role of chartered accountants and the implications, how we can take further steps to strengthen their role, to enhance the usefulness of chartered accountants as far as the department is concerned, as well as exporters are concerned, we need to basically go through the provisions of foreign trade policy to understand this. In foreign trade policy, you know that every 5 year foreign trade policy is announced, and in between government has rights to amend, modify the policy based on the circumstances. So there will be so many notifications, public notices being issued in between also. But broad policy framework is valid for 5 years. Madam, are you able to hear?
Yes, sir, we are able to hear, but we are not able to see you, but we are able to hear you, sir.
Because I am talking from my mobile, because there is a PCA some issues with.
No problem, sir. We are able to hear you, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So, to understand the foreign trade policy, we need to go through the various chapters of the foreign trade policy. Now, present foreign trade policy is announced for the period of 5 years, 2015 to 20. However, because of COVID pandemic, it was extended by 1 year from 20 to 21. That is 31st March 21, it was extended. Again, we had pandemic, second wave. So it is again extended till 30th September 2021. So now we have a foreign trade policy which was announced in 2015 is still continuing up to 30th September 2021. But the issue is that in between there are certain changes. I will come what changes, major changes have come. I will come across those changes also. In foreign trade policy, it's always formulated by the DGFT, announced by the government. So DGFT is formulation authority and implementation authority of foreign trade policy. In foreign trade policy, it's a broad structure of foreign trade policy like this. To anybody who want to start export-import business, or anybody who want to export or import, they need to register with the Director General of Foreign Trade and attain importer-exporter code number. This is the prerequisite to do any export and import from India. So without importer-exporter code number, nobody can undertake either export or import. So one mechanism what we do is that, suppose if somebody is doing some mischief and doing some frauds and other things, we can suspend their importer export code number, so they will not be able to further do either export or import in those cases. So that is the basic, you can say it's the key for foreign trade, either to export or import. So once you have importer exporter code number, then you are free to export anything and import anything unless the item is restricted or prohibited. So any item can be exported or imported once you have importer exporter code number, unless the item is restricted or prohibited. So you may ask question, how many items are prohibited or restricted? If you see, we have more than 10,000 tariff lines at 8-digit level, around 11,000 I believe. So out of 11,000 tariff lines, we don't have even 200, 300 restricted or prohibited lines. So it is very minimal items which are restricted and prohibited. So most of 99% of items free to export or free to import. But once it is 99% of items are free to export, free to import, then what is the foreign trade policy is all about? The foreign trade policy is all about how to facilitate exports and make export an engine of economic growth for the country. So we have various schemes in the foreign trade policy to see that export-import policy is a vehicle of India's economic growth. So basically, if you see the broad framework of foreign trade policy, we have capital goods scheme, and we have raw material schemes, we have general incentive schemes. You assume there are three kind of things. Suppose if somebody wants to set up an industry in the country, so what he needs? He needs capital goods. So he needs capital goods. Okay, you can procure domestically from a capital good manufacturer and install the capital goods and start manufacturing. At the same time, then what is the foreign trade, what is the capital goods scheme all about? Suppose if you are want to import capital goods at duty free, but you have to undertake certain export obligation. In that case, you are allowed to import capital goods duty free. So the capital goods scheme under foreign trade policy allows the importer-export code number holders to import capital goods fully duty-free. That means they need not pay any duty, but they have to undertake certain export obligation. The obligation is 6 times the duty saved. For example, as on today, if you are importing a crore of rupees of capital goods, so general duty today is around 26%. So 26% is the duty on that means 26 lakh is the duty, including basic custom duty, IGST and various service charge, other surcharges and all these things. So you have 26 lakh duty, it is payable. If you want to pay duty and import it and install it, then you have no obligation to fulfill. So, but you want to import duty free, then there is an obligation 6 times the duty saved in 6 years. That means in 6 years time, around 156 lakhs, that means 1.56 crore, you have to export the goods manufactured in your factory using this capital goods or other where it is installed. So those kind of goods, suppose you are installing certain machinery in your factory, like garment manufacturing factory. You have imported, you want to modernize your garment manufacturing factory. So you have imported some sewing machine and all this kind of things. So it is already installed in the factory, which is already running. So whatever goods produced in the garments, you can export and fulfill export obligation. 1.56 crores if you export, that is 6 times the duty saved, your obligation is fulfilled. This is called Export Promotion Capital Goods Scheme. So we have another scheme for raw materials. It's very fine that you have given duty-free import of capital goods, but how it will promote exports? You may need certain specialized fabric to import and manufacture garment and export. To fabric maybe duty may be having higher duty because fabric is kind of luxury item kind of thing. So for that purpose, we have a scheme called Advance Authorization Scheme. Under Advance Authorization Scheme, you can import capital goods the fabric fully duty free. That means I'm just giving a fabric as an example. That means any inputs required to manufacture export item is totally allowed duty free. So you import inputs and manufacture export item, and you can export within 18 months. That means you can take an advance authorization, and advance authorization is valid for 12 months to import, and there is an export obligation period 18 months to export. However, if you feel that you are not able to export within 18 months, you can take 2 extensions 6 months each for fulfillment of export obligation. So this is a scheme for import of raw materials for export production. So we have the 2 schemes. Now, is there any other schemes in the foreign trade policy? Yes, we have other schemes. We have general incentive schemes we have. So that is, there was one scheme called Merchandise Exports from India scheme called MEIS scheme. So it was valid up to 31st December 2020, and it was replaced with a new scheme called Road TEP scheme, which is rates have not been announced so far, but scheme is operational from 1st January 2021. But the MEIS scheme was giving a general incentive. Suppose you are exporting, for example, an agriculture product. So, for example, you are exporting some mango pulp. The MEIS rate was 5%. So, the moment we export you file a shipping bill and you have exported and you have got the payment, foreign exchange, then you can file MEIS in the DGFT servers, and you are given a 5% duty credit script, which is either you can use to pay custom duty while importing, or you can sell it off. So if you are selling also in the market, it goes around 98%. So that means for, suppose you are exporting 1 crore, you get 5 lakh duty credit script. So with 98% around 4.99 lakh, you may get it immediately as a incentive. So this is a general incentive for merchandise export, that means goods export. For services also, we have service export promotion. Service export from India script, that SCIS. Service export from India scheme is there, SCIS scheme. Under SCIS scheme, incentive is given for export of services. So what services we export? For example, a tourist has come to India and stayed in a 5-star hotel. So the 5-star hotel has serviced the tourist person in the hotel by offering the room and offering the food, beverages, etc. So the foreigner, he pays through his credit card or whatever manner in dollars. So when he pays in dollars, those things are treated as foreign exchange and the foreign exchange earned. So there is a 5% SCIS benefit is given to the service provider. So service provider, there are so many categories of service providers. The rates range from 3% or 5%. There are two slabs basically. So this SCIS also have is also to promote service exports. So we have schemes, capital goods scheme. We have a scheme, raw material scheme. We have a scheme that this capital goods scheme, raw material scheme is to import duty free, and we have a scheme as a incentives that is for goods MAS scheme, for services SCIS scheme. So basically now after from 1st January 2021, MAS scheme is replaced by another scheme called Road TEP scheme, RODTEP. So that rates are still to be announced. And service export scheme was up to initially it was offered till 31st March 2020 only, but it has not been extended because then after that COVID has started, so new policies are on hold. So when new policies announced September, what incentives for services will be given will be known. But okay, now where is the role of chartered accountants in all of these things? And to tell one more thing, we have one more kind of recognition of exporters called status holders. So an exporter, suppose he exported past 3 years and in current year, suppose $3 million US, we give 1-star status. So 25 million if he has exported, then we give 2-star. There is a different slabs are there, that 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star exporters are there. So there are different star status are there to given exporters. So it is basically a title conferred on various exporters depending on their export performance. This title also, it carries a lot of weight in negotiating with foreign buyer, which gives them foreign buyers a confidence that this export is, what kind of level he is having in Indian before Indian authorities. So that, and also when if you have this kind of status, you need not execute any bank guarantee whenever you are required to execute before importing or exporting on advance, obligation. Like when you are taken an EPC authorization, you are importing capital goods. So you are required to execute a bond bank guarantee, 15% bank guarantee. But if you have this export house status, you did not execute any bank guarantee. You will simply give an legal undertaking. So that is sufficient. So this kind of benefits are there for service the status holders. So now where the role of chartered accountant comes largely in this manner. If you have a status holder, so how government know how much you have exported in last 3 years and current year, until the date of application? We have no mechanism, because we have mechanism where all customs data comes to DGFT servers, and we have their bank realization certificate in our servers. We can compute, but there are certain even manual ports also they export. There are, suppose if you go to Petropol port, Bangladesh border, or maybe some ports in Nepal border, these are all manual ports. So there are even certain exports from SCZ units also not properly captured, because SCZ server is not ICAI server. ICAI is custom server basically. SCZ have their own different servers. So there is a capturing problem also still. There are a lot of EDI investments and work is going on. But For the purpose of recognition of a status holder, we rely on the chartered accountant. The chartered accountant certifies, yes, this person has exported in so and so year this many US dollar. In next year this many US dollar. So they give all the past 3 year or current year export performance in a certificate. So we go by the certificate and accept that certificate and confer the status on the exporter. Yes, the chartered accountant has certified this is the status, so you are now so and so status holder. So basically here chartered accountant is playing an important role in recognizing the helping the government department to certify, yeah, this person is exporting this much. But of late, government has come across a lot of fly-by-night operators also who can take certificate, submit a bogus chartered accountant certificate, for example. How we recognize whether it is a bogus chartered accountant? He can print some letterheads and may sign as some chartered accountant. How I know whether that person is really a chartered accountant, really certified, or somebody is simply submitting some certificate created by in his own laboratory in his office, kind of thing, and faking some rubber stamps and all these things. So for this purpose, we rely on recently, I think Indian ICAI, they have introduced some UDIN mechanism where UDI the chartered accountants upload the data of the whatever certificate they have issued in the website of your website. But the problem, we have noticed certain problem in the UDIN. So in the UDI, in the unique documentation, whatever is called UDIN, so we found that the name of, suppose, assume, for the purpose of a minute, assume that I am a chartered accountant. So I have
And we will continue with the next 1 minute. Thank you very much for your patience here. Ready, sir? We can continue, sir.
Yeah, I'm continuing.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Madam, up to which level, up to which this thing you are able to hear?
Sorry, sir.
Up to which, when it was stopped?
Sir, it stopped just 2 minutes back, sir, when you were telling about the professional opportunities for chartered accountants, sir.
But that UDIN,
Yes, you were talking about UDN only. You were talking about UDN only.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when
Now we can see yours.
yeah. So what I am telling is that the status house recognition is granted based on the certificate issued by the chartered accountants. So, but there are certain instances where fake chartered accountant certificates are also submitted to various authorities. So normally we go and try to check in the UDIN where the certificate has been issued by so-and-so chartered accountant. Based on the UDIN, we only know that yes, the chartered accountant has issued a certificate based on that UDIN, but the identifying details like to whom it has been issued and how much was the export turnover is not allowed to be displayed in that page. However, there may be you may be uploading a chartered accountant certificate to your website, but that whatever has been uploaded, we are not able to download so that we will properly verify it. So there can be, we can discuss this aspect, how we will be able to ensure that a certificate has been issued. Because in case if you are not able to, I can tell you here what is our apprehension is that since if you don't know the identifying details, anybody can quote that same UDIN in different files also and claim so-and-so chartered accountant has issued a certificate to me also. The same uploaded details can be used by 20 more people because there is no name available on the verification details. So that is one apprehension. So another apprehension we have in case of service export from India scheme, SCIS scheme, where we give incentives to service exporters. So that is also based on chartered accountant. So lot of even in Delhi, so many service export incentive scripts has been issued to so many service providers. Later on, DRI investigated them and found that most of the people have wrongly misdeclared and taken the benefits. So basically, the chartered accountant has certified those details, but we cannot pin the blame on chartered accountant also, because most of the times chartered accountants is believing the exporter, and whatever details they are submitting, these people are attesting. So that kind of thing is there. But in the recent ages in the foreign trade policy, chartered accountants have given even more role. So I will tell you I will come across what kind of roles they are performing now. So this service export from India scheme, so the chartered accountant was asked to perform a role to verify whether this service is eligible or not. That's any such benefit. So that is a very specialized job. So if you go to the CPC code, that means code of some international code related to service exports. So that is codified by internationally. That is around some 200-300 pages voluminous document. Each service export is identified with a code, some 8-digit, 10-digit code. So it is given in detail. So chartered accountant is required to go through the code and verify, and also required to go to the invoices, whether what invoices they have really exported and whether that really conforms to the code. This kind of details they are required to verify. If they don't do that kind of inclusive check, then they may be issuing a wrong certificate. But problem here is that the chartered accountant being employed, being engaged by an exporter, if he asks too many questions, they say no, I will go to some other chartered accountant. That is also possible. So he is also hesitant to ask for more intrusive document. But if he gives with a small check, if he gives a certificate, later on, if authorities or DRI or somebody finds, yes, this certificate is not properly issued, and these people have claimed, benefits, which are not due to them. Then again, whole investigation start and cancellation of that the benefit is given, recovery of the benefit. So in this process, the casualty is that the role of chartered accountant is the casualty. Then the authorities also would not give much weight to chartered accountant whether they should accept such certificate on face value or not. So that kind of what we call dharma sankat, that kind of thing comes on authorities to accept or not to accept, or should call further document to verify whether the certificate is issued genuine. So the moment you call for further documents, it amounts to that that certificate is no longer totally relied. So they are also asking for certain other documents. So this is one area of concern. And in case of, there are other areas where even chartered accountants were asked to perform the role of an chartered engineer kind of thing. So in case of advance authorization, I have mentioned in advance authorization, the exporter can import inputs duty free for export production. So there is a chartered accountant certificate which certifies, yes, to produce 1 unit of this export item, they need this much raw materials. So this is basically is not a role of chartered accountant, strictly speaking. But government casted, this kind of responsibility on chartered accountant. So there also the chartered accountant here traditionally not performing basically accounting function. He is going into the role of a manufacturing, auditor, where he is auditing the manufacturing, how much raw material is required to manufacture this, and all this kind of activities. So whether chartered accountant really performs this kind of role, or simply issues certificate relying on exporters, whatever he says to the chartered accountant, that also needs to be, we have to ponder on that. Like this, we have another role, like I have told earlier, I have mentioned. So the export promotion capital goods scheme. In the export promotion capital goods scheme, so the exporter imports capital goods and required to export 6 times the duty saved in 6 years to fulfill the export obligation. So after fulfilling export obligation, the exporter submits the document to the DGFT for the closure of that license. Whatever obligation, you close my obligations, I have fulfilled my obligation. So what DGFT relies in the chartered accountant certificate. Chartered accountant certifies, yes, this person has fulfilled the obligation on this shipping bill, he has exported. So there also the export obligation is given. So whatever machinery you have imported, the export should have the nexus related to that machinery. Suppose you are importing garment manufacturing, you are importing certain garment manufacturing machinery. So export item will be garments. So even the chartered accountant is earlier, at present, normally he sees the bank statements and all these things. In normal audit, I'm talking about. Normal audit, bank statements, all these things you will see, and maybe something like that. Now he is required to go into the shipping documents, even what you have exported. And all this, the role of the chartered accountant has gone beyond traditional audit and accounting. So he has gone into the role of, service, he has to perform a role of expert of analyzing what kind of service are available in the world, what service is classified under which heading. So where he has exported this kind of service or not. So that kind of thing. And manufacturing. So how much is required, how much raw material is required to manufacture this export item? That kind of role he is to perform. So he is also required to perform, to examine the shipping document. Yes, what he is supposed to export, what he has exported, whether he has exported. So this kind of roles he is performing now. So in all these things, we see that chartered accountant is performing increasingly a different role, a role which is not traditionally a chartered accountant's role, but much more than the chartered accountant role. But I feel that most of the time we fully rely on chartered accountant certificate and accept that. But in certain cases, of late, we have found that the chartered accountant certificate is deficient to the extent that it was not fully verified. And when investigation authorities have found during investigations, the exporters have misdeclared what services they have exported and what export they have made. all these kind of things. So basically, this is what I feel chartered accountant role in foreign trade policy, which is much more expanded, and we need to sit with the authorities and with the community to find out what best we can do, how to reconcile the role of chartered accountants in the new kind of enhanced role of chartered accountant, how we will be able to define properly so that whatever they submit is accepted without any doubt. That kind of trust is required between the authorities and chartered accountants. So I pass here. If any questions are there, I am happy to answer.
It was a wonderful speech by you, SBS Reddy sir. Your words of encouragement will be always remembered by us, and the kind of confidence we are supposed to enjoy. We have noted your words of advice also. We try to implement, and our members are as such regularly certifying the exports and other aspects of the export trade. But in context of all the certification and the regulatory compliances, we will try to do it under those. Friends, if there are any questions that should come on the chat box, DGFT Sab is planning to serve, so we'll be very lucky to have you and then also.
Thank you very much, Chairman sir. There are some of the questions. Can I request the additional DGFT sir to answer those questions, sir? One question which has been raised by the member, sir. Sir, additional DGFT sir.
Yes.
Members have raised some question whether SEIC scheme will be extended for 2019-20.
Madam, you see, 1920, you see, that is the last year of SEIS scheme, basically. So that scheme, it's not, so far it's not denied. Okay, that is like that. So because of COVID has come, basically, then government has, lot of funding issues. So it is on hold. Still government is discussing how best we can come up, but they can still expect some positive news. But still it's not, government has not said no.
Thank you very much, sir, for answering this. One of the members have also raised, when will the details of this RODTP scheme announced and when can the exporters start applying this scheme? This, some of the members expressed their concern for the scheme, sir.
Madam, it was supposed to be announced in March, but I think it is already in advanced stage. Maybe in a month's time, I think it may come.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. And one of the members have raised an interest that do an IEC holder has to compulsorily become a member of export promotion councils, and what benefits he will have to that, and whether there is any benefit for joining that. This is a concern which some of the members are expressing.
Madam, there is no compulsory for IEC holder to become a member of an export promotion council. But then why there is a requirement of this thing? Suppose if the IEC holder want to claim any benefits of any scheme under foreign trade policy, then he should be a member of export promotion councils. That means suppose you want to take an EPC authorization to import capital goods, then he has to be a member. Suppose he want to take an advance authorization for import of raw materials, inputs. So you need to register. There is one more scheme under IGST where there is kind of there are two kind of transactions. Like suppose a manufacturer supplies material for export to a merchant exporter. Merchant exporter thereafter export the goods. So the manufacturer, while supplying the material to merchant exporter, he supplies on payment of GST at 0.01%, not 18%. It's only 0.01%. Here also, they are required to register with Export Promotion Council. That is one of the requirement of the notification. So basically, when you want to claim certain benefits, so you need to register. Otherwise, you are not required to register if you don't want to claim any benefits.
Thank you very much, sir, for your elaboration, sir. And now I will just waiting for DGFT sir to join. Thanks a lot, sir, for giving such an elaborate explanation on this export procedures. In
Thank
case
you.
if members have any further question, we will request you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Reddy Saab, particularly on accounting services sector, if some policies are framed, if our inputs can be invited, then it will be very, very helpful to the ICAI and to our members also.
Even accounting services, it is one of the service available for benefits under SEI scheme as on today. So if you are providing any audit and accounting service to some foreign client and you are getting foreign exchange, still you are entitled for certain benefits under SEIS. I mean, the scheme as on today is not there unless it is extended. So for the past, whoever has exported such services, they can still claim the benefit during the validity of the scheme.
So we'll obtain the information from your good officer and we'll try to encourage our members to take that benefit.
Yeah.
In fact, on regulatory aspects, we are facing more hurdles on auditing aspects. So there we have made the representations to Ministry of Corporate Affairs also, because we are demanding from it also, and somehow they are not so eager to grant reciprocity to us. But on accounting services aspects, sir, we are expanding quite fast across the globe, and more particularly in Gulf countries, etc.
Regulatory means what is the meaning of regulatory?
Sir, in most of the countries like USA, they have the qualification of CPA, and they will not allow auditing services to other than non-CPAs unless we have reciprocal agreement.
Yeah, that's right. Unless you recognize them, they have to mutual recognition has to be there. Then only they will allow. But problem is that whether our communities, whether they are interested to have their professionals to practice here, that is also one of the big question. It is both sides. It's like that. So it's not one-sided.
Sir, to be very there's no problem on facing their competition in India also. But our demand is that grant us reciprocity. We will practice there and you practice here. That is where the hurdles are coming.
Yeah, they may think once they allow India, they may flood your services. Their service providers may be vanishing. So that apprehension also may be there. We don't know.
Yes. To our credential. One country, Bahrain, I visited, and for government consultancy and government entitlements, they have taken out such qualification criteria. Then we prevailed upon them that CA qualification has far more credentials than your prescribed syllabus.
Basically,
Then they entered into MOU with us.
When India negotiates a free trade agreement or some bilateral trade agreements, so at the time this kind of issues should be taken up, because that is the time you negotiate with other countries. That is the time. Basically, you would do that kind of thing. So,
In fact,
wherever you have to keep track with Ministry of the Department of Commerce, what are the negotiations going on. So, then you have to put your demand to the negotiators of that countries. This is one of the conditions. So then it goes to the agenda point.
Sir. So we'll once again put up our request there, and if we can have some kind of liaison with you, we'll try our best to provide the inputs, because at the at the policy level, you people play a very important role, and you can envisage
what are the countries we are currently negotiating. So if you people are interested in any of those things, don't you can write to Department of Commerce. So when we are negotiating with that country, so your demand also for reciprocal arrangement, can be incorporated in the negotiation.
Sir. We are regularly in contact with Department of Commerce and Ministry of Commerce. On all these aspects, we are keeping a step with them. Thank you very much, sir. We'll try to keep in contact with you, and we are waiting for Amit Yadav ji to join us. Sir, one second. I think there is some message from Amit Yadav, sir. I think he's taking some time because there is some important telephone call he's attending. So, Anita, may we request Chandrima to kindly help us?
Yes, sir. I will request C. Rahul Jain ji to please introduce the next speaker of the session, Ms. Chandrima Sinha. Over to Rahul Jain, sir.
Thank
Madam,
you.
DGFT will be joining in 2 minutes. He called me just now.
Okay, he's joining in 2 minutes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir, then we can wait because I just got a message that he would be joining, taking some time.
Yeah.
I think so.
Joining in 2 minutes.
Okay, then Mr. Rahul Jain, we can wait for DGFT, sir, to join.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Reddy, sir, for informing us.
In the meantime, SPS Reddy sir, Atmanirbhar objective and the foreign trade, I think it's a great counterbalancing with the. Am I audible, sir? Hello?
Yes, sir, audible, sir.
Yeah, audible, sir.
Anshaji, you will be remaining present in the DGFT's lecture continuously?
Yeah, I'll be there at the end. Basically, I have some engagement, basically something in the family function. I'll be whatever the time allows in between. DG has already joined us.
Yeah, sir has already joined.
DG has,
welcome,
sir has already
Yadav,
joined.
sir. We are honored by your presence and we are quite eager to.
Thank you for, but I also apologize that I could not join earlier, though I had given a commitment a long time back. But the situation was such that it was beyond my control. But it was a pleasure to participate in such an occasion where there is an opportunity to interact with the brightest mind, to deal with this subject from time to time, and we get valuable inputs also from your members. And some of them have interacted with me on various occasions also. So I think so it's an honor and privilege to be there in this discussion. And I'm sure my colleague, Mr. Reddy, must have enlightened and tried to address issues to the extent possible. He is one of our finest officers and also the biggest RA he handles beside looking at the headquarters. So all of that makes him uniquely placed for any issue which you may have had. But I think so I'll stop there and then just tell me so I'm going to join and what you want me to say.
We'd like to formally introduce you briefly, although you are so much well known in the fraternity, but still it's a privilege for us. In fact, Reddy ji enlightened us very brilliantly. His speech was quite exhaustive also, and he attended to many questions also to the extent they were raised. In my opening address also I mentioned, and I am pleased to reiterate that we are very much proud and we have a very strong appreciation for your policy framework, sir, that today the country is sitting on the huge quantum of foreign exchange reserves, and despite the challenges being faced by the globe and by the countries in the context of pandemic, etc. And therefore we are very eager to learn the new policy framework and how the institute's role can be made more meaningful, how we can have some understanding of the foreign trade policy, and how our members can also play more useful role. Friends, Honorable Amit Yadav ji, the GFT sir is in the midst of us. He is Director General of Foreign Trade and it is in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry of the Government of India, and the DGFT is responsible for administering laws regarding foreign trade and foreign investment in India. Sri Amit Yadav is IAS, is currently serving as the Director General of Foreign Trade since November 2019. He is a 1991 batch IAS officer of Union Territory cadre. His background also includes counselor at WTO for 3 years, November 2009 to October 2012, Secretary Government of NCT of Delhi, 2 years, East Delhi, we are indeed much pleased and honored that despite various has taken out time the
We've lost you, Mr. Ghia. I think so. There is a bandwidth issue.
Tarun bhai, there is a bandwidth issue with your connection.
Yes, Hansraji. I think I may not be audible in between. I think I was little disconnected. Sir, I was trying to briefly speak about you and then requested your honor to kindly address us.
Thanks. And as I said at the beginning, lot of issues on the foreign trade policy. We rely on the various chartered accountants who are members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, ICAI. And if you see, I think so. What I don't know what my colleague Mr. Reddy has told, but if you see, even in FTP and the Handbook of Procedure, I just asked that let's look at how many times there is a mention of chartered accountants in the policy document of our foreign trade policy. And on a first glance, we could find out at 38 occasions that there is a mention of chartered accountants. So that shows that the kind of close relationship in the foreign trade policy we require for various reasons to the institute members to be part of the foreign trade policy. And I think so the important thing which it brings in is the way the scheme has been designed, the way the policy has evolved over a period of time. It is moving more from the so-called restrictiveness to a more trust-based, and therefore a greater role for the chartered accountants have been envisaged as we moved along. The trust-based, just for an example, if a certificate from a chartered accountant is there which says that this is what the turnover was, or this is what they've done with regard to, say, a particular product, that is the only basis on which we rely on the documentation to probably give a license. And that, I think so, that is, therefore, it brings in two things. One is the most important thing is that the responsibility becomes very important, or the responsibility becomes for the chartered accountant to be true and correct for the certification. Because once you have the trust-based mechanism in place, then that trust also needs to be honored. So that is, I think so, we have had some occasions where we had to send to the ICAI about certain certification by some of the members, but largely we haven't had an occasion. So that is the one important aspect. The other important aspect in this whole thing is it makes the whole process much more business friendly and what we commonly call as ease of doing business. So that is, I think, so the part where again we need to be business friendly and we need to ensure that the compliance burden goes down. So I think so that would be my preface in how we work closely in this organization and as in our policy and in our handbook of procedure with the members of ICAI. And I think so that is one part of it. There would be challenges, and we would always welcome, as we have moved into a more IT-based system operation within the organization, that if there are any challenges, if there are any suggestions for further improvement, because I believe, very sincerely believe, that nothing is static. Whatever we may have at this point of time, we can over a period of time further improve it based on feedback, inputs, and so on and so forth. So it's a dynamic and evolving as we work along. So we would welcome any suggestions, any constructive constructive opinions on where there are challenges for ease of doing businesses, where there are challenges for compliance burden, and how we can improve it, and how we can work in the IT system which we have put into place, that it becomes much more faster, and it is much more also at the same time it's much more what I was talking of, the trust-based further strengthening. So that would be on a very big, larger picture that we are looking. We are also working on the foreign trade policy in the coming months, and through the ICAI, and since you are the practitioners and the large trading community relies on you for nuances and not in the scheme and otherwise also what is happening, you have a much wider coverage of actually how businesses happen. My suggestion would be if how you would like a foreign trade policy to be, and it's not only about scheme and improvements in the scheme, but otherwise a much more futuristic, much more wider coverage from what we have in the foreign trade policy documents, which as we move accelerates our exports, becomes much more agile, and also ensures that the ironing out on various issues with the trade. So policy is also a vision document. So we are now looking at much a bigger horizon, a bigger vision document being part of the FTP. So Mr. Reddy is the lead person in that. So as we go along, hopefully with you as an ICAI and your members, if you have anything, any suggestions, any improvements which are required, or any new ideas, something which we really welcome. We are looking at what we have seen is, despite all setbacks and despite all the challenges in the current time, we are witnessing roughly around, in the first 2 months of the current financial year, 30 billion plus, around 30 billion plus trade, and with easing out on ports, easing out on the various restrictions which vary from states to state, easily we would be looking at 30 billion plus every month. So from last year, which was a much more COVID impacted year, where it was roughly around 300 billion, I think 296 or 294 billion, we are looking at 360 plus, and there, that's if everything works, we looking at 360 plus, and that means we need to be much more receptive, much more timeliness in what we are doing, and if there are any policy direction, policy, and within the schemes, guidelines, and so on and so forth, any challenges which are there, if those needs to be ironed out, which will facilitate and help the trade, we would welcome those suggestions and inputs. I'm not going into the into nitty-gritties of the scheme and so on and so forth. The other thing which obviously is a much anticipated thing is with regard to MES going away and what happens. The RODTEP has been announced, which would be, I'm sure, input from a large number of clients which you represent, so on and so forth, and the general concern. We are working very closely to bring a closure on all the issues, and shortly, I would say sooner than later, the guidelines and the rates would be out. So that should bring some amount of confidence in the RODTEP anxiety, if I may be permitted to say, within the trading community which exists. Finally, what is happening is in the RODTEP is with the introduction of RODTEP, largely whatever were the taxes which were carrying out, taxes, duties, levies, which we were exporting, GST and RODTEP together would address that, which will make our exports much more competitive, much more balanced in the sense of when for foreign buyers, when our exporters are negotiating for supplies, that at least those are not carried. So I think so that will make environment much more, what should I say, a much more business friendly and much more predictable as we go along. There are a number of issues which we get as inputs on a daily basis. We are working very closely with the help desk. We analyze, we looked at feedback and pain points which are happening. If there are a large number of those, and then we constitute committees, teams to immediately address that. So any feedback on that is also welcome. So looking at exports, ease of doing business, compliance burden, and looking at how we can be much more agile is what we are as we are in this financial year. Those are some of the areas which we are looking at, and those also would also be into foreign trade policy as we work. I think so. I will stop there. I know you started some time back. I think so from 3 o'clock onwards. So it's been probably a long session, interactive session, which probably has almost 3 hours. And I'm open to any suggestions or any broader issues which would like to be tackled. I am not I may answer nitty-gritty issues, but my colleague who's had a much more experience of almost 30 plus years on that sector, he would be much detailing, he would be much more deeper knowledge than probably I can claim I have. But still, if there are any broader suggestions, policy issues, and so on and so forth, we can have some smaller, a limited time period of that. And I will have to leave at some point of time because I have to get something going based on the discussions which we've had today afternoon, and that's why I could not join. But since I had given a commitment, I said I'll join for some time and then go back and work on those. And as you can see, I'm still sitting in my office on a Saturday evening. So that is where we are on this timelines which I have to address to as we go along. So thanks for inviting me. Thanks for the interaction, and we will continue. And I hope we work together and we continue to work on together with the institute and the various members. Thank you.
And sir, you are on mute, please, sir. Sir, you are on mute. Sir, please unmute yourself, sir. Your voice is not coming.
Mr. Chug, we can't hear you at all. I think so. There is some again either bandwidth issue or probably it looks like you're muted or no, you are unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Sir, meanwhile, I have a question from you. Sir, there is in FTP. Okay, ready.
I think so, Hansraj Chuk, sir, we are not able to hear you. There is some technical problem.
There can be some issue with it.
Now it's okay, sir. Now it's okay. We are able to hear you, sir, please. Now it's okay.
Just say a bit louder. It's very faint. Now I think so. Again, bandwidth issue is.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Jain, you can go ahead.
Sir, there in the FTP there is a one clause that is you define the one in every district in all over India one product for the export promotion. That if any district have the more than one product for the export promotions, then how we will define this?
Sorry, I don't get it.
Yeah,
What are you talking?
Are you getting my voice now?
Yes, Hansraj Chuk, sir. Now it's okay, sir. I think so. We can continue, sir.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I will ask.
Yeah, yeah. But Amit ji, just Yadav ji, just it was a thanks message. I would like to give a great thanks, and the way you have elaborated and the way you have shared your vision, definitely you cannot blow an uncertain templates. And you have rightly said 30 and 360. That target, if set in, that kind of vision is being brought in, and definitely with the support of the digitalization and dynamicity of the environment and finding out the way, whether it is the road tap or something for the service sector also, because you find there are certain inefficiencies in our system, whether it is we call it as a infrastructure inefficiencies, or otherwise also we can find some of the places in addition to the taxes and the duties, there must be something for the agriculture sector which people look at it, something for the core sector. You see, like your ministry has already given a 12 sectors which are the champion sectors, and accounting and taxation, taxation and the finance services is one of the gray area where we can find more growth can happen with. So with those kind of perspective, we have to find out in the coming policy, in the new policy, whatsoever is expected from the 1st of October, the new ways for the development, so that $5 trillion economy target is being achieved, and the globe we can prove like a leadership at the global level, whether it is the developed nation, developing nation, or the landlocked countries or the underdeveloped countries. They must feel the strength of our nation. They must feel the strength of the forward looking or the newer things in the capabilities and the competencies of our country. And the economy is the only area by which we can spread our wings across the globe. And definitely support from the office of the DGFT is well expected by the service sector community also, and by the manufacturing sector community also, and the agriculture is definitely the way we are targeting with doubling the income of the farmers. That is the another area we have to look at in the new policy. And I'm quite hopeful the ministry and your office is targeting newer things in the coming policy with a more forward looking at the step forward effective measures, and same way will be the promotional schemes also. I'm very grateful and thankful to Amit Yadav ji, the office, the first person in the office of the DGFT as a DG, and I'm very great. I personally have met him with a good knowledge, good base to understand the business, how the business can be taken forward. I'm very grateful and thankful to you for joining us, and hope Connect will be more strengthened in the time to come also. And I assure you, the support of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, more particularly this committee, and the members in general will always be there for the growth of the nation and for the growth of this economy sector, which is taking care of the beyond the boundaries of the country. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Mr. Chugh. And I think so. I missed out, and probably you have mentioned it. I missed out on the services sector, and as you have rightly pointed out, our services sector also is 200 billion plus, and it is fast catching up with the goods sector. So it's one area obviously we can't neglect. And unlike goods, and which you talked about the disabilities, and the disabilities need to be addressed. One part is, as I've said, that whatever are the taxes, those will not be exported when you say export the goods. The other part is there can be logistic issues and other kind of challenges which also need to be addressed at the same time. So that is also a part of the exercise when we look at it, and the cost of the capital financing and all. So we have this scheme, interest equalization scheme, to a large extent. It needs to be further utilized for this aspect on the interest subvention which occurs for the exports. The agriculture has seen a growth in the coming in the last couple of years, and we have. Therefore, we also have introduced a scheme which I'm sure your members are aware, the Transport and Marketing Assistance in 2019, which covers that part of it, that especially the transportation and the competitiveness which can be brought in by giving the support for the agriculture products, because it being covered, it's something as a subsidy which at this point of time would not be covered by the WTO rules. So we have introduced that also. So the agriculture obviously is a priority for the government, and there has been quite a significant growth in the agriculture exports, and especially in the last 1 or 2 years, some of the, whether it's maize, whether it's on fruits and vegetables, whether it is on spices, we have seen significant growth even during the COVID time. So that is one part, I think so, and that is being supported. And the other thing which has been done, there is, in a cluster-based approach, agriculture export policy has been agriculture export policy for the cluster growths, agri clusters, is a part of the work which the Commerce Ministry of Commerce, along with the Agriculture Ministry, is working on. And that will show quantum results, and which has already shown the results, and I think in the time to come, which we'll see witness further growth. On the services, as you've said, 12 champion services sector were determined, and those 12 champion service sectors are being taken over through the various ministries. Schemes have been drawn and work has gone. And the other thing is, as I said, there has been, even during COVID time, when we expected some services to be impacted, especially some service sectors were badly impacted, the tourism, hospitality, airline, civil aviation, part of it. Still, we have been able to have a 200 billion plus services export. So that shows that we could manage even COVID times, and this is something which is a focus area. But unlike goods, it does not have a challenge of, I would say, disabilities in that sense. there may be different kind of challenges the services sector have, and what I can say is for the 1920, something which was stuck for a long period of time, for almost a year plus, we are now having some signs that in the coming months, even for that, funds would be made available for disbursement for the SEI scheme under the for 2019-20. So that is, I thought, since Mr. Ghia pointed out to those issues, I'm adding that so that through you we can transmit to all the members. The other thing is, I don't know whether Mr. Reddy has pointed out and all, we have a huge number of IEC in our database. It is 17 lakh IECs. And when we analyze how many IECs are being utilized, we see what we saw the trend for last 3 years. It's not more than 2 lakh IECs which are actively used or which were used in last 3 years. So we have come out with this exercise of getting our database clean, and we would like you through your association for support, because all of you, your members, are advising and part of various associations and otherwise to get the IC holders to update the data. We have IC holders for which we have no detail of their email or mobile. If I want to transmit through the IT system any new information, any new thing which is happening, I can't do it at this point of time because for most of the members I can't cover it. So we have changed the rules for an annual updation exercise, and we would like you to be associated and through your members to be much more propagated so that the database is clean, the database is updated, and which works both ways for us to transmit and communicate, whether it's through email or through social media or even through a mobile app, mass SMS messages. So that is, we would like that to be there, and obviously in these times when you are working on a system-based operations, the information needs to be updated and up to date. So I think so that is something which we would require your support and your members' support as we go along. Thanks.
Sir, I, on behalf of the ICAI, assure you whatsoever the support required, whether it is the risk-based assessments or the digitalization, wherever you feel like any connect to any of the IEC holder requires to be, once he is registered at any part of the, whether it is on the MCA or in any system of the income tax also. So those are maximally connected with the our members. Will definitely spread or make our members aware of the yearly system of this updation of the IC also, because so far it was not the case. It once IC been obtained, it is forever. But new system definitely giving you a more concrete information about the risk also. So those are the good things. And I, on behalf of the ICI, on behalf of the committee, I'm very grateful and thankful to you for being with us and guiding us and making us in a better understandable manner the way forward also for the this trade issues, or the more particularly the foreign trade matters. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. I'm also grateful and thankful to Mr. Reddy also, who is really been a best of the officer as you've been seconded it. I also appreciate the way he has elaborated with, or the way he has taken the discussion forward for the better understanding of our members. Thank you, Reddy sir, to you also. Thank you very much. Now, Anita, we can go for the next Chandrima or.
I will sign off, but I just want Mr. Jain asked something. I couldn't understand what he was asking. I probably didn't hear it properly. And then I'll sign off, and you can continue with your session and so on.
Thanks, sir. I am asking that there is a scheme for the 5 trillion economy. The India government has announced that in every district of India, they identify the product for export promotion scheme. And if they have any district have the more than one product which has the ability of export out of India, then how will you judge and what the benefit you will provide for them, DGFT department?
I think so. We have, that's the other part, which is export promotion part, which we are now looking at. Districts as export hub is the initiative which we have taken up in the last one and a half year. What we have done is we've created institutional setup in each district, and we have also identified products. Initially, people were focusing on one district, one product. And let me tell you, the one district, one product is actually a limiting in scope, in the sense only one product can be there. And when we are talking of exports, export covers both product, that means a good, and also services. So that's why in our district as export hub initiative, we are not looking at one. There can be more than one product, or one, there can be a service and a product, there can be 4 products, and so on and so forth. And it will vary across the country. It's a diverse country. Some are much more developed districts because of various factors. They would have the intrinsic strength. In all the districts of the country, district export promotion committees have been set up. They have prepared draft plans for the district. A draft plans have been prepared by the DGFT official for and it was a gigantic task which we used last year during the COVID for almost 740 or 737 or 739. The numbers keep on changing. Of the number of, for all the districts, we prepared a draft district export plan. And then it was taken up with the district export promotion committees, and value added was done on them, and stakeholder discussion happened. And I think so almost 50 districts have adopted the district export action plans. Similarly, states have also, some states had their state export plans, which were more advanced state and states where there is a lot of export. But now almost all the states are working with our initiative on having a state export plans. The whole idea is we are looking for some scheme which can ensure that products identified based on the district action plans of exports, how we can put in where there is requirement based on the gap identification in those action plans of district, and how we can strengthen. If it is, say, an agriculture product, is it an issue of grading? Is it an issue of a cold storage? Is it an issue of packing? Is it an issue of logistics? Is it an issue of testing? And all of those will come out on the district action plans. And what we are looking at is probably some scheme where both state and center can work on filling in those gaps, so that finally all the exports happen from some district. They don't happen from the ports. They happen they happen from those districts. And if we can address those issues, say it's a cluster, agriculture, since agriculture was talked about, I'll talk about that. So then if it's a cluster and if they can have some grading, sorting, testing, and packing unit, the value addition can be done there and there, rather, or a logistic transportation issue from those districts, either in that district or a group of districts, based on what they have prepared, identified as products. And it's not one product, as you rightly said. It can be more than one product. For all of them, then we look at it, how it can be done. So the draft plans translate into a final action plans. Like as some of you may be aware, state of Punjab, all the districts have adopted district action plan for exports. So individual district will have different products. Some districts have more than even 4 or 5 products which are export focused. We are also looking at how e-commerce can be leveraged in it. And in fact, that is one another part of when we look at the futuristic part of it, how e-commerce can be done and how the rural artisans and the handloom, handicraft, and those aspects of it can be onboarded into the whole mainstreaming of the exports. So the district plans are looking at everything, and also we have integrated into that the GI products, the toys, and the agriculture products. So I think so it's fairly comprehensive, and gaps which are there will then need to be addressed. And gaps will need to be have the part of the focus, because that would have come from the district itself. How funds would flow, we're working on that, and I think so. Obviously, with the given fiscal situation where we are in, finding additional funds for a new scheme is a challenge. But we are working with the states how we can work on that. A lot of it cannot be purely a government driven, but government as a facilitator for those identification through various schemes for private investment towards it. So that would be my take on it, and thanks for pointing out, because that's one of the new focus of the DGFT on the export promotion in the last one year or one and a half years. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
So thanks, and I'm signing off, and thank you for inviting, and it's an honor and privilege, and we will keep on interacting with you. Okay, bye.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Namaskar.
Now I would like to introduce Chandrima Sinha, who is the Vice President at Invest India, the National Investment Promotions and Facilitation Agency, where she oversees special project related to promoting and facilitating investment into India. She led the multi-stakeholder initiatives India Investment Grid IIG, which connect the global investors with the key investment opportunity from both the government and private sector across India. Previously, Ms. Sinha was the director of IDFC, where she overviewed the PPP advisory to central and various governments. Ms. Sinha has over the 2 decades of combined international and domestic experience in industry and in consulting the primarily at the public-private interface with a focus on attracting the private investment flow. She has also served on the board of Uttarakhand Infrastructure Development Company Limited and Delhi Integrated Multimodal Transit System Limited. She holds the BA Honours Economics from the St. Stephen's College, University of Delhi, and master degrees in Economics, Business Administration, and Public Administration. It is a wonderful introduction of Ms. Sinha. Now I would like to invite Ms. Sinha for proceed further.
Thank you so much, Rahul ji, and I hope I'm audible. And
Yes, you are audible.
First of all, a very warm thanks for inviting us to be part of this distinguished gathering. And I understand that we have participants from all your 40 global chapters. And thank you so much to Tarunji and Hansrajji and the committee for having this session, and where we hope that we can further build on the collaboration that Mr. Bagla talked about in his inaugural address. So with that, what I would like to do, and as DGFT pointed out, it has been a long session and I'm sure everybody is a bit tired, so I will try to keep it short. And I thought I could show a brief PowerPoint, and I hope I'm able to share this. So I'll just try sharing it. Let me know if this works. Is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought I'll just begin with a quick overview of what Invest India is for those of you who are not able. Sorry. For those of you who are not able to, who are not aware of what Invest India is, I hope many of you would be very happy to know it is also recognized as the world's most awarded investment promotion agency. And as Mr. Bagla pointed out, that despite the pandemic, India saw a record FDI increase in the 2021, where we saw a 10% increase over the previous year. It is something that even our peers across the world have recognized. And the annual investment meeting is something that happens in Dubai every year. And we have been awarded the first prize for the last 4 years, where the event was taking place. Last year, actually, it was a virtual event. And so this is a matter of pride because we are a very young organization. While on the screen, if you see our mandate, we actually started in 2009 is when the organization was set up. But it was in 2014 when this present government took office, when it was realized that we needed an agency at the central level to proactively go after investments across the world, which is when this organization was funded and revived. And we consider ourselves as the startup of the government of India. And our main mandate, if you see the ones that are highlighted, is to be the first point of reference for any investor, for any kind of query throughout the life cycle of the investor. Um, if they have right from the just trying to find any kind of initial investment information to even aftercare after the investment has been grounded, we are there as a friend and a partner along the way. And in that entire journey is where we work very closely with all the chartered accountants who are also the people who are advising these businesses, right from the regulatory advice, the strategic plans. And because of our unique position within the government, we proactively take the issues faced by the investors to the policymakers and work collaboratively to find solutions. And sorry. Yes, so if you see on the slide, our shareholding is such that we are both a government and a private. We are 49% government and 51% a private sector, which is held by the three largest business associations. And all the states of the Union of India have a shareholding in us. So we are representing both the government and the private sector in our dealings, and we are therefore any investor or any advisor to investors have a friend who can take their issues to the right, year at the government level. So we work across all the different ministries. And on your screen, you would see that we also have specialized desks which are housed within the ministries where we work very proactively with that particular ministry. And if you can see at the bottom of the screen, we have also DGFT written there. And the DG was just talking about the district export hub plan where Invest India is providing that service to the Director General of Foreign Trade, where we are working with them actively to find the products that can be taken across from all 739 districts and working on marketing, the promoting plan, the entire supply chain. So that is what we are doing with DGFT, for example. And on the left-hand side of the screen, you will see there are some dedicated country desks where we have worked very hard to open up new areas of business, like in Taiwan. And in the last few years, the last couple of years, we have seen very active, engagement with Taiwan, and it is also a strategic call with Russia, with the Middle East. So these are some of the areas where we have dedicated focus, but we work very actively across all sectors, across all countries. And you will not see much state desk here because it is also our mandate to handhold the state investment promotion agencies. So we work with the Gujarat Index D, we work with Madhya Pradesh, we work with Maharashtra, and we provide them the handholding support in all that they need. And here on screen, you can see, we have partners from all across the world. We have MoUs with, their respective chambers, their respective business chambers and trade promotion agencies. And this is also where we proactively reach out, as I mentioned before, and do roadshows targeting exercises across webinars. And this is also where your different chapters across the world can partner with us. And we have done that in the past year when we were traveling, and we had your chambers also support us when we were hosting webinars and roadshows in that respective countries. So please do reach out to us if you are, outside India and would like to help us in when we are doing our targeting exercise to bring more investments into the country. And what we also are trying to do more of last year, what we started was this exclusive uh, investment forums, which was a webinar series that we started, where we brought together the chief ministers of state governments. We had Aditya Yogi from Uttar Pradesh. We had Sri Rupani from Gujarat, along with their entire council of ministers, senior bureaucrats. And we brought investors from across the globe, and we had them on one one platform, and which also had one-to-one meetings after that. So this was a very successful exercise that we conducted at the height of pandemic, and because at that time business travel had completely stopped, and that also contributed a lot in us getting record FDI in 2021. So these are some of the different avenues that I talked about. And again, as I said, these are also areas where your fraternity can partner with us, provide us with new leads, because you know best what is happening on the ground. And since we would like to consider that all of us are part of Team India, we would really like to work with you closely when we reach out to the global investors. So I'll just now briefly touch upon some of the other initiatives that Mr. Bagla had, also spoken in his inaugural address. So here we're talking, it's not just also the global investor. We facilitate any investor who reaches out through queries, any kind of, clarifications, problems with registration, to even, getting land, any kind of issue. So what we are also working on now is the single window system, where we are trying to proactively merge all the central clearances at least on one platform. And in the first phase, we are working with 7 state governments to create the single window system, which is being called Madhya. And what would it would allow that, for people like you who might have be, not in Delhi, anywhere in India, anywhere outside the globe, through that platform, you will be able to at least facilitate your clients, whatever regulatory requirements. Mr. Bagla had talked about the India Investment Grid, and you have the website address here. So this essentially showcases or tries to showcase the best of opportunities from across sectors and across states on a single platform. It is a free searchable platform of the Government of India, and it also allows the global investor to directly connect with the government and private promoters in India. So we are showcasing projects which are both greenfield and brownfield. There would be EPC, they could be PPP. They might be looking for funding. They might be looking for a technical collaborator. We have all the stressed assets under the bankruptcy code as part of our partnership with the Bankruptcy Resolution Board of India. And we are also showcasing SDG projects. So this is a platform that has already reached wide acceptance across the globe. It is linked to the website of almost all our Indian missions and is used to showcase the opportunities. It is also the exclusive host of the National Infrastructure Pipeline. This is the only place where the Ministry of Finance is showcasing this pipeline. And there again, at the click of a button, you will be able to reach the project, agency there. So please do let your clients know about these initiatives because these may not be widely known to your clients. And we also have a Twitter handle that is also followed. So please do access these platforms and make full use of these essentially initiatives that are meant to further the ease of doing business. And the other aspect from the promoter point of view is that this is also the only free platform where a private promoter can put forward his project and seek collaborators. So if maybe a company in, say, Jabalpur can showcase a project and reach out to an investor in Canada. So that is also being provided for free here. Mr. Bagla had talked about this land bank and the industrial park rating system. So for the first time, and if you see this, it is also available as a mobile app. So what we have tried to do is map out all the available land across the state parks through a GIS mapping system and put it on a single platform where through the click of a button you are able to see what land availability is there. And what we hope to also have in the next phase is that by clicking on one particular plot, you'll be able to see what are the other companies that are located around that plot, what are the different facilities that are being provided around that plot. So that would also help you guide your client, or they will be able to choose a location for their business, for their upcoming investments far more easily. So again, this is also live. This is ILB. So that is also available, and all information you'll be able to find on Invest India website also, in case you're not able to locate in a particular site. Mr. Bagla talked about the project development cell earlier. So these are dedicated cells that have been created in some 29 ministries where their main focus is the faster facilitation of investments on the ground. And above these PDCs is an empowered group of secretaries. Again, their role is to take decisions which without getting caught in a long run bureaucratic fashion, and they are able to take decisions at a much faster pace. The empowered group is chaired by the cabinet secretary. And the idea is to cut across different ministries and to provide a single platform. And through these ministries, what we have also been doing is these production-linked incentive schemes that were launched last year for 13 key sectors. And for this, I think about 7 have already been announced. What are the different schemes for the solar sector? What are the different schemes for the pharmaceutical sectors? What are the different schemes for the electronic and hardware sectors? And in each of this, our Invest India team has worked very closely with the ministries to draft the policies. And this has been on the basis of multiple feedback sessions held with the industry, held with the, advisors, like again, the CA fraternity through the different chambers of commerce. So whatever feedback has been brought in through those multiple interactive sessions, the different ministries and the PDCs have tried to build that in the PLI scheme. So once again, please do share whatever inputs you would like to, contribute towards easing of the regulatory burden and faster and easier compliance. So we would be very happy to take this forward, because entire aim is to have India as the manufacturing hub. And it has been launched last year as once again as part of the initiative of reviving the economy after the pandemic. And this has gone a long way. We have seen huge success, and we welcome all inputs for the upcoming schemes that are yet to be launched. So we talked a little about the ODOP earlier. I think DG Amit Yadav also pointed out that ODOP was slightly restricted in its scope, that it was supposed to be one district and only one product. But in that also now, as I said, as part of the export desk, we have expanded the scope. But just to take you briefly on what was the intent behind it, that at least start with one product and take it to the global market. So whether it is, carpet from one village, but take it to the entire global market, work on the product development side. That means, taking the packaging and the branding to global scale, the entire quality standardization so that it is accepted by the large retail giants across the world, improve the entire marketing and promotion, have very slick marketing, create awareness through our missions, Indian missions, and help in the entire supply chain. So very deep work has been done, and that led to the expansion to now the district export hub. So I'll just show some of the examples that of our minor successes that has happened. So I'm not sure whether you know that we obviously are, while turmeric is considered to we all have turmeric, but Northeast actually has one of the best turmeric growing variety. And the Lakadong turmeric in Meghalaya is considered to be one of the best, which has a very high curcumin content. And they, as you can see, it's just at a small village without any kind of support. Our team worked with them. We got the samples tested, and it is now being promoted within India, and it has actually replaced the imports that was coming. The other example, it's just very recent, we actually had a mango festival, and we started with Japan. And we exported 500 kilos of mangoes. We worked with the Embassy of India, the NEA, and with APIDA. And we actually showcased these mangoes across 25 locations across Japan, in the supermarket, the 7-Elevens, the Costco, and various things. And we ended up with a buyers, or we organized a buyer-seller meet where over 100 participants participated. And we, also introduced it in restaurants. So it led to a lot of, feedback from the Japanese investors, and it has actually led to huge procurement orders being placed by big retailers in Japan, Lawson and Costco, post the buyer-seller meet. So this is again one area, if you feel that there is a possible market and we could partner, please do share those inputs. And with BGFT and Invest India in partnership, we are taking our products to the global market, and we would welcome all your support. That's it from my side. This is a brief presentation, and I hope it was informative. And essentially across any of these areas, across any of the regulation side, we would welcome the support of the CA fraternity.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Chandrima, for enlightening us with such a wonderful presentation. Can I request you to take 3 or 4 questions from members? Some of the questions which you think are important, which our members should know about it.
Sure, okay. So I think one of the questions is again on how how the CA fraternity can expand or contribute to increasing foreign trade and in helping the promotions. So I think I've covered a lot of it, but I would like to say that please, a lot of time we work in silos, and it is not known that a body like Invest India exists. So any kind of regulatory we conduct very frequently in and sector-wise and also country-wise. Issue-specific webinars where we seek inputs from the fraternity, from investors. So, and as the people who are guiding any business, you would know where the regulatory burden is or where the multiple duplicity of burdens are. So we would really welcome your inputs because the stated intent of the Prime Minister was that we should be in the top 50 across the world in terms of ease of doing business. And as all of you would know, that in the last few years, India has achieved, a huge jump in those rankings, but we still have a long way to go. And with your help in reducing these compliances, I think that would be a great contribution. And we work very proactively with all of you, and all those inputs are welcome. And I think you would find that all levels of the government are welcoming these inputs now. So that is one area that definitely we look forward to your help and support. And I think another is, there's one that which jurisdictions the government is looking forward to expanding foreign trade with. I think, the short answer would be every jurisdiction. So any and every jurisdiction would be welcome. But as I said, that certain areas we have seen a strategic thrust, like in Taiwan and with the post-pandemic and post-China, those trade to diversify the areas. So we have focused a lot on Russia, Taiwan, Middle East, but we would be very happy to get any for every jurisdiction. That would be the short answer. I think there was a question, how is Invest India contributing towards increasing foreign trade? I've just talked about that. We do not do trade as such. We are mostly, we look at investment flows, and that also inbound has been our mandate to increase the FDI flows into India. But we are slowly starting to support, as I said, we started with DGFT and this one district and the district export hub. But per se, we are not so much into trade aspect as such. And in terms of, do you think that increasing investments in India by foreigners will increase the size of the Indian accounting industry? Well, I'm not so sure about the size of the accounting industry, but I think definitely when foreign companies come into India, I think as per our, and I'm not an expert in this area of law, but I believe they are required to hire Indian firms. So with more companies coming in and more companies needing services, definitely that is going to contribute to the range and depth and size of the services that our Indian accounting industry offers. I hope, Anita, that's enough.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I hope that some other questions you have answered would have answered the members' queries. In fact, I take this as an opportunity on behalf of ICAI to thank you a lot for giving an overview of the new areas where Invest India is dedicatedly working and the global partnerships. Our members are really enlightened with initiatives, and you have really helped them to showcase the best of opportunities from India and how they can also contribute towards the national development. And on behalf of ICAI, I assure that we will continue to support the initiatives of Invest India, and we will work together so that we also contribute towards the national development. Thank you very much, Chandrima, for coming for this webcast. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And thanks a lot for all the viewers for participating and for viewing this. Thank you very much. Mr. Jay, we can stop the webcast.